Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And more information is coming out now about those two young white female doctors who were literally pulled out of self-isolation from their home and put behind locked doors in a quarantine center by an over-officious Limpopo health department. And the information confirms what I've suggested, and that is that this was clearly a racist and oppressive move by the health department in Limpopo, because the two people who had tested positive for COVID-19 were white. Let me tell you the whole story. Two doctors with COVID-19 will know on Wednesday, the 8th of April, whether a legal appeal against their forced quarantine in a Limpopo hospital has succeeded. Now that's today, we'll find out. Meanwhile, health organizations and activists have condemned their treatment as a violation of their human rights and warned that it may discourage people from testing for COVID-19 and drive the virus underground, which is the worst possible thing you can do. Dr. Claire Olivier and Dr. Taryn Williams have been locked in isolation wards in the Modimolle multi-drug-resistant TB hospital since Thursday, the 2nd of April. This was after Health MEC Dr. Phophi Ramathuba got a court order to remove them from their home and take them into quarantine in the hospital. Neither doctor was able to get a COVID-19 test at Modimolle Hospital, where they work, because they did not satisfy the strict testing criteria. Do you hear that? Now, these are doctors that weren't able to get a COVID-19 test, even though one said, hey, look, I've got some symptoms here, and they said, no, we can't give you a test. Can you imagine how many hundreds of people walking in through that hospital door since this COVID-19 outbreak in South Africa have had the same treatment and just been told to go home and self-isolate? What a joke. Anyway, let's continue. However, Dr. Williams was worried about her dry cough, so she got tested at a private laboratory, which confirmed she had COVID-19 last Sunday. Now, that last Sunday being late March. Olivier then tested and was confirmed with the virus the following day, and both have been self-isolating at the home that they share. They informed their hospital, which is Mpumalanga, of their test results and also spoke to Ramathuba last Wednesday. Ramathuba blamed them for bringing the virus into my province to infect my rural people, according to a recording. So this has actually been caught on a recording, where instead of saying, look, I'm terribly sorry, I hope you get better soon, she says, you are responsible for bringing the virus into my province to infect my rural people. Guess why? Because they're white people. Two white doctors. My gosh, you can't make this shit up. Let me put it this way. If this had been two black doctors and a white member of parliament or a white senior politician doing this, this would be world news. This would be over every single paper around South Africa. It would be on SABC TV, it would be on Anchor, it would be on everybody. But no, because it's a black politician and two young white female doctors, it's ignored by most of the mainstream media. Quite incredible. That's why it's called fake news that the mainstream media produce. Anyway, let's continue. At no stage did Ramathuba tell them they would be held in forced quarantine, yet the following day a contingent of EMS officers and police arrived at their home with a court order to remove them to the isolation wards of the MDR TB hospital. The Limpopo Health Department decided last week to forcibly quarantine all those with COVID-19, something that has not been done in any other country in the world. The department announced last week that due to non-compliance to the rules of self-isolation by some patients of COVID-19, all of those who test positive will be taken into its isolation site for the prescribed period, according to a statement from Ramathuba's spokesperson, Tilivali Moava, released on Friday. Now, in one hand she's saying to these two white young doctors, you brought the virus into Limpopo, and then on the other hand she's saying, due to non-compliance to the rules of self-isolation by some patients of COVID-19. These two were fully compliant, so how could they be the ones who brought the virus into that area? It must have been someone else. Otherwise she's talking BS when she gave out that post. The Treatment Action Campaign, or TSA, National Chairperson Sibongile Chabalala questioned the wisdom of the MEC's approach. Health workers are on the front line of this pandemic, and they are playing an important role. We know that there is not enough personal protective equipment, or PPEs, for health workers, so I don't know how the MEC can blame the doctors for getting infected. He said, much as the MEC may have been thinking that she was doing the right thing, she should not have forcibly put them in isolation. She should have talked to them to see if they would self-isolate at home. Just forcefully removing them is unconstitutional, and it's a violation of their human rights. Veteran HIV activist Dr. Vuyiseka Debula warned that the MEC's actions would fuel fear after people test positive. Debula, who is director of the African Center for HIV/AIDS Management at Stellenbosch University, said, if people have effective home quarantine and are asymptomatic, why bring police to arrest them as if they are criminals? Debula added, the doctors posed no harm to the public and were very aware of the risk. For God's sake, they're doctors. Imagine what this will do to the communities if people are treated like this when found positive, even without symptoms. Dr. Mark Human, chairperson of SAMA's Human Rights Law and Ethics Committee, said the doctors were asymptomatic and followed the national guidelines developed by the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, or NICD. Those with mild diseases who are able to self-isolate and who are not at risk because of age or underlying conditions may be considered for management at home, according to the NICD. So they were totally compliant with the laws of the land, but no, they had the wrong coloured skin. So the person in charge of the health department in Limpopo had to make a point, didn't she? Well, it's backfired very badly, and I hope she gets fired or terminated from her position. What a stupid... Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But the Limpopo Health Department said NICD guidelines remain guidelines and not a rule of thumb or a prescription. So they are going to go their own way. Well, I hope all the doctors from Limpopo leave that province and they go somewhere else. Then let's see how happy the health of the woman in charge of the Department of Health will feel. Meanwhile, Phophi Maja, the National Health Department's Director of Communication, confirmed that self-quarantine is the national protocol. Maja said, forced quarantine is only for those unable or unwilling to self-quarantine. China overcame the virus by self-quarantine. SAMA, which represents the doctors, had received a groundswell of support with offers of financial and legal support, added Human. These are medical doctors and they know what they should and should not do, said Human. They followed the guidelines to the letter. They are relatively well and were self-isolating. Taking them from home into forced quarantine is an abuse of limited hospital resources and a waste of time for everyone concerned, from EMS to the judge that had to hear the matter. Olivier, who celebrated her birthday on Sunday, said she had been advised not to talk to the media until the outcome of the appeal was known. However, last week she confirmed that since testing positive to COVID-19, We have been self-isolating at home and haven't had any visitors. For God's sake, they're doctors. They know what their responsibility is. The only person who doesn't here is a woman who actually brought that court order against him. Here, the woman in charge of the Department of Health. What a complete no-hoper. In fact, if I had my Pog my horn badge here, I'll tell you what I'd be saying. In fact, I'm going to say it anyway without it. You know what she can do? She can go and Pog my horn. And if she doesn't know what that means, I'll look it up. Google it. Modimolle councillor for Ward 11, Johan Abri, said he had helped to get food and clothing to the doctors over the weekend after health workers had refused to accept it. Their lawyers also needed them to sign some documents for their appeal, but the health workers said that if the documents went in, they would not be allowed to come out again because they could be infected. Aren't they absolutely incredible? You know, you can't make this shit up, can you? This is South Africa at its very best. The Mpumalanga Health Department had not responded to queries about whether the doctor's recent patients had been traced and tested at the time of publication. Well, we'll be following the story because this is a very, very classic example of how the minority groups, including Indians and whites in South Africa, are being persecuted by the ANC politicians. You know, it's wrong. It's wrong. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.